in today's competitive job market, having a strong resume is just as important as knowing how to negotiate your salary. But what makes a resume stand out? Is there a universal format that recruiters prefer? And when it comes to salary negotiations, how do you ensure you're getting what you are worth? Now, to help us have a better understanding and answers to some of the questions that we have an expert joining us today in Dr. Victor Kwambuge. He's a human resource consultant, sustainable and development expert. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Victor, this morning.
Thank you, Fatima. Good to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, so we're talking about, career growth at this point, and a lot of times you go out to seek for jobs. The first thing that they ask you is your CV. Why is CV so important when you're seeking for a job?
Okay, thank you very much once again for having me here. Traditionally, people place a lot of emphasis on CV, and that is because the CV gives the employer or the prospective employer the first opportunity to see you at a glance. Sometimes they don't have an opportunity to know who you are, to know what you have, or to even see you, but your CV represents you. So that is the reason why we advise prospective candidates to ensure that they take a lot of time in crafting the CV, because sometimes where you are not there, your CV is there to be able to give a representation of what you have and who you are. So this is why it is very important that we are having this discussion this morning, for candidates to understand that they need to take a very special, pay special attention on how they craft their CV and the deliberate efforts to ensure that only relevant information is on the CV. I will also add here that there is no universal CV for you to say. For example, if you ask me to give you my CV, I do not even have a CV to tell you that this is the CV I have. Instead, it is the opportunity that is coming my way that determines how my CV should look like. In other words, I tailor my CV to suit the opportunity that is coming. For example, the easiest way for candidates to be able to tailor their CV is by having a peep at the job description of the kind of opportunity they are looking at. I will give you an example. I love working with children. I have worked with children both in the community, in the church, etc. I was applying for a role with an organization called Save the Children International. Now, this is an organization that by their mandate, they will appreciate someone that have an experience working with children. So that automatically should be on my CV, because these are the kind of things that will appeal to the interest of my prospective employers. But if, for example, I'm also applying for a job in the bank, and I'm putting it in my CV that I have experience working with children, it will not make any sense to them. So this is why I said you tailor your CV based on the requirements of the jobs that of the opportunity that presents itself. There are information that will naturally you have to expunge them if you are applying for some kinds of places, and there are some kinds of experiences that may look irrelevant, but for some employers these are the kind of experiences they are looking at.
Well, I've seen a lot of people have their resumes in pages. How long should a normal resume should look like?
Well, the length is not really what is more important. Instead, it is the relevance of the kind of information that you have on the CV. I am aware that there are employers that will tell you we don't need more than 1 page, we don't need more than 2 pages, etc. Except if it is clearly specified. You are at liberty to ensure that you put in relevant information, like I said. Now, let me also add this. For employers, I have been in this business for more than 10 years. And I will tell you that people do not even, HR managers do not even spend more than 10-15 seconds on a CV. Because sometimes you're working with deadlines, and you can have more than 500 CVs and you have more than 30 minutes to just shortlist 5 out of them. So it means that all these details of having 5 pages, 10 pages, is not what is there, or it's not what is required. Instead, you should focus more on having, if I may advise, that aspect where people put their professional summary, that summarizes who you are. If I am looking at any CV, that is the area where I want to look at. And from there, I see you at a glance. I know what you have. I know the kind of skills that you have. And I know the kind of experiences that you are bringing on the job. Meanwhile, the emphasis at the back of the mind of every prospective employer is what transferable skills are you bringing on the table. Emphasis is now on skills. So I see people making a lot of mistakes by putting more than 6-7 pages of CV, and when you glance through them and you see that it is as good as empty. So instead, focus more on things that, on information that are relevant. I have seen where I have disqualified CVs of 5-6 pages, and I've taken CVs of not more than 2 pages, and that is because I see what I want, and that is the most important thing for me.
So are you saying you know that age limits that I see some people put on their CVs, married or not married, their marital status and what have you, shouldn't be there at all?
Now, again, we always have these mistakes. I said irrelevant information. There is this column where people put personal data. On that personal data, you see religion, you see sex, some people put number of children, some people put names of spouse, words. For crying out loud, you are applying for an international organization. An international, maybe your recruiters are even based in New York, and you are telling the recruiter that you are from, I don't want to call any local government here. They don't even know which states, how many states we have in Nigeria. They don't even know what is Bauchi. They don't know what is Ondo State. They don't know what is Lagos. All they want to know is who you are. So there are so many sections. You mentioned 3, 4, 5 pages, or how many pages people should put. You discover that so many of those pages are even filled with irrelevant information. So this as that side of professional personal data, I don't know how they craft it. Sometimes people call it personal data, where they say their religion, their this. For crying out loud, in the 21st century, nobody actually cares about these kind of things. What is more important is what transferable skills are you bringing on the job? Who are you? What do you have? And what are you bringing to the table? These are the kind of things that you should focus, a candidate should focus on when crafting a CV, so that it will appeal to the interest, like I said, of your prospective employers.
So how important is cover letter? Because when after you send out your CV, or when you are working on your CV, they always ask for a cover letter, which also you kind of explain your experience, why maybe you need that particular position that you're applying for. How important is it?
Cover letter is also very important because it also gives you an opportunity to express yourself beyond those regimented format of CV. On the cover letter, it's like you are talking with someone now. You are telling someone who you are, and you are also at liberty to also add information that may not even be on your CV. So cover letter is something that is an added opportunity for you to be able to sell yourself. Mind you, both CV and cover letters both present you an opportunity to market yourself. It's like somebody giving you an opportunity that, okay, tell me why I should hire you, without even seeing you. So you send your cover letter, you send your CV, and you have 2 golden opportunities to be able to sell yourself in 2 different ways. So on your cover letter, I've seen people making a mistake of just repeating exactly what they have on their CV. On the cover letters, you now have an opportunity to convince the employer that this is who I am, and this is why you will make a very serious mistake not hiring me. So you focus more on what are those things that you have achieved in the past, and what are those accomplishments, specific accomplishments, as they are related on the job. So here, we always expect that people should be able to use figures, people should be able to use percentages, people should be able to use measurable indices to be able to pass through their point on what they have been able to achieve in the past. For example, if I was a teacher in the past, I would say that that I have been able to record so percentage of success rate. My students have been this percentage of my students were able to pass my exams because of the effort I put. Something like that. When you are able to craft that on with a well articulated English, you have an opportunity to convince the employer that you are the right fit for that opportunity.
So how about graduates that are just graduating and they are looking for jobs? How can they make their resumes look strong without any experience?
They are supposed to focus more on the things that they have acquired in school. I understand that CV is going to be more theoretical than practical, because they are going to focus more on the things that they have learned over the years. Now, in my experience interviewing those kind of fresh graduates, what I always advise them is that they should be able to convince the employers on how teachable they are. I have seen where candidates, with all innocence, with all honesty and sincerity, are able to convince a panel where I was a member that I know that I don't have the kind of experiences that you guys are looking at, but I will assure you also that with the right mentorship and coaching, I am teachable and I can be able to learn the rudiments of your job fast. and the person got the job. So we advise honesty, we advise sincerity. I've seen candidates making mistakes of putting things they don't have on their CV just because of the desperation to be able to get a job or to be able to get them on the shortlist, and they embarrass themselves during the interview stage. So it is very important that people should be sincere, and most importantly for those fresh graduates, they should be able to convince the employers on how teachable they are. Because that is what will appeal to the interest of the employers.
So how about freelancers and self-employed when it comes to also sketching their resumes to appeal to the people that want to actually hire them for the jobs?
Okay, permit me to digress a little bit. We have overflogged the issue of saying, okay, how will these people craft their CV, etc. I will also add here that people get jobs faster, especially for those freelancers. People get jobs faster these days through networking, through referrals, through recommendations than by submitting an excellent CV. Am I saying CV is not important? No, CV is very important, because even when you get recommended, even when you get those referrals, the next question is, okay, send me the person's CV. Most of the opportunities that are available now, especially in this age that we are normally grabbed via recommendations, via networking. So that is why, if there is one advice I would give either a freelancer or somebody that is looking for a physical job, or somebody that is looking for a remote job, I would tell the person, improve on your network, improve on your referrals, because that is where you get jobs faster these days. People in the field of human resource management now, there is something called headhunting. Instead of the traditional practices of going to advertise, go to newspapers, television stations that we are looking for these skills, etc. People headhunt. By headhunting, I will call you, Fatima, I'm looking for an accountant. Do you know someone? Fatima will say, okay, I have come across this accountant. The person is good. How good is the person? When I get your recommendation and I trust your ability to be able to give me a qualitative candidate, then based on your recommendation, I will ask you to send me the person's CV. And that is why where the issue of the excellence of the CV come into play. And when I see the CV based on your recommendation, I can even hire the person, and that will save me the stress of conducting reference checks, background checks, etc. Because the background checks I need is you, the reference checks I need is you.
Yes.
Because Fatima have recommended this person, I will know that if this person misbehave, I know who
to call. Definitely. So at what point should people negotiate when it comes to salary? Because I've seen people saying the salary is what matters to them, whether the job is okay or not, is the salary that people are going for. So at what point should they bring up salary negotiation?
On a lighter note, I will tell you, at the point where they are able to convince the employers that they have the right skills for the job. You find it easy to negotiate for salaries if your employers are convinced that this is the person we want. I will give you this example. We were hiring for a nutrition manager in Borno some years back, and we had two strong candidates, very strong candidates. Now, one of them is a medical doctor. She has all the skills, all the soft skills that we want for that job. But she was quoting a very high salary. But because we were so desperate to have her, because her skills and her experiences matches what we want, and we as the employer, we were even ready to go outside our budget. Why were we doing that? Because this person was able to convince us that she was the right fit for the job. So I will advise the candidate, instead of focusing on, I want to be paid so amount, focus on what you are bringing to the table. I assure you that if you look like what the employers want, they can even go out of their way to ensure that they give you a higher pay. So salary negotiations is supposed to be an offshoot of the kind of skills and the kind of experiences that you have and that you're bringing to the table, and your ability to be able to convince the employers that I am who you want.
So, but the people hiring, also the recruiters, always ask you, how much you want us to pay? I feel like it's a setup.
Yeah.
So how should people answer to that question?
I've seen a candidate that told me that this is the most difficult question at the interview. And I said, we're just asking you to just give us an amount. So as difficult as that question seems, it's an opportunity for candidates to be able to place value on themselves. It's an opportunity for candidates to be able to show the employers that they have, that this is how I value myself. I have seen candidates make mistakes of saying, just pay me any amount, anything, sir, I am ready to start, and what have you. So that is not a very good response, because you are indirectly telling the employer that you have not even placed any kind of value on your skill set. So it is very important that you place a reasonable amount. At the same time, it's a setup, just like you said, because I have also seen where candidates are disqualified because they quoted higher than the budget, than the budgetary provision of that very role. So it is important that what I do advise some candidates is that before you even go for that interview, make sure that you conduct a little research on that organization. You are able to speak to one or two persons, and you're able to have an idea of how they place that particular role, so that you can be able to place an amount. Now, I will conclude here by saying that you should not mention a definite amount. Instead, it is safer for you to mention a range. You just tell them that I am ready to accept between the range of this and this, so that at least you, even if it falls within, you are safe. So you just play safe by just giving a range, instead of just saying this is. I have seen candidates that tell me 500,000 is the minimum I'm ready to accept. What if the budget is less than that? You stand disqualified.
So what are the other benefits that job seekers should negotiate for besides salary?
Excellent. So besides salary, it is very important for job seekers to look at the aspect of work-life balance. I have seen where, I have worked in an organization where the culture of staff going for leave, taking some time off is discouraged because of the toxicity of the work environment. So the issue of leave days, so that they can be able to have a good work-life balance, is very important. And at the point of the interview, it is very important for prospective candidates to be able to seek clarity on how much days am I entitled for monthly for my leave and what have you. And other benefits include opportunities for learning and development. For me, any kind of opportunity I'm picking, if I don't see a clear path for my professional growth in the next 2-3 years, it's a red flag for me. Candidates should be, in fact, there are points where at the point of interviews, employers will ask, or recruiters will ask, do you have any question for the panel? These are the kind of questions that when you ask, you give an impression that this person is really conscious of his or her professional growth. So it is very important that candidates are deliberately conscious of what opportunities do I have for my training and development, and the issues of also these health benefits, health insurance, whereby, am I eligible to get health insurance? I've seen employers that will tell you that for the first 1 year you will be on probation, so you are not entitled for health insurance. These are the kind of things that people should be able to actually take note of. But in sum, work-life balance is very important. This era of having people to work Monday to Saturday, there is no rest, there is no time, and even when people apply to take some time off to recuperate, to rest, is always a problem. So these are the kind of benefits that people should be able to push, and people should be able to seek clarity before they even pick up appointments. Okay,
so based on your experience and being a human resource consultant, what advice would you give people that want to master salary negotiation and how your CVs should look like?
I will go back to the first point I made by saying that you get job faster via recommendation by submitting CV. So I would recommend that they improve their network, they improve their scope of the kind of people that can speak positively about them, number one. Secondly, job search. There are so many mediums now where people can search for job. LinkedIn is a very important platform whereby recruiters always go into to search for who they want. So if you are looking for a job, it is very important that you have a very strong LinkedIn account. You are able to craft yourself, package yourself very well, because self-branding is a very important component of this job search that we're talking about. You brand yourself very well, and you emphasize the transferable skills that you have, so that when your prospective employers are looking at your profile, they will say this is the kind of person that we are looking at. Salary negotiation, like I said, should be a function of the kind of skills, the kind of value that you are bringing to the table. When you have the right skill set, negotiating for salaries become very easy for you. But when you don't have the right skill set, my sister, you will struggle.
I actually wanted to ask that, how important is skills? Because they keep asking what skills do you have? Do you have ICT skills? You have the skills. How important are some of the skills?
It is so important that you even need to emphasize it on your CV, and you also need to emphasize it on your cover letter, and you also need to make sure that it dominates the conversation when you are having an interview. Any kind of question they ask you, as simple as tell us who you are. You by the time you present an introduction about who you are, you emphasize your skills tactically. You start mentioning about the kind of skills that you have, because at that point, like I said, you have an opportunity to convince them that they will make a serious mistake not hiring you. You tell them that you are the right fit for this job. So skills is very important, because in the 21st century that we live today, we live in a time where skills are placed more important than certificates under normal circumstances. I'm not talking about the kind of political rigmaroles that we have now in the country, whereby people prefer connections, people go
referrals and the rest.
In serious crimes, it is skills that dominates the conversation. So many people that have gotten juicy and lucrative opportunities have gotten that because they have the right skill set that the employers look for. Instead of focusing on, I have PhD, I have this, I have that. These are good. These are things that will provide you the platform to be able to go into some negotiation rooms. But when you get on that table, make sure that it is your skills that you emphasize that. And in these skills, they are into two. We have what we call hard skills and we have soft skills. These hard skills are things that you acquire in schools, the ability to count numbers, this and that. When you talk about soft skills, these are skills that are transferable skills that I told you. Skills like communication skills, ability to be able to communicate very well, and ability to be able to convey your message in an excellent manner. Time management is also a skill. There are people that struggle to even keep time. When you tell them that we resume here at 8 o'clock, they always come at 8:30. These are transferable skills. You also have what we call ICT skills that you also mentioned. Yes, that can be placed under hard skills, but most importantly, the ability to even use the computer in such a way that your workers or your colleagues will feel comfortable about you teaching them, you expressing this, using emails and what have you. These are soft skills that people are supposed to look at. There are so many of those kind of skills that I always encourage job seekers, that in your ideal time, instead of you just sitting down at home applying for jobs, lamenting that the situation in the country is bad, there are no jobs, focus on adding skills on yourself. I will give you this example. I got an opportunity to work with the UN in DRC in 2018. One of the things that nearly disqualified me from getting that job was my inability to speak French. Because at the DR Congo is a French-speaking country. As a HR consultant that they are hiring me for, I should be able to communicate to my colleagues in French. The majority of them don't speak English. Now, my French skills, or my French speaking skills, is very, very low, aside the basics French that we learned in school. And that nearly disqualified me. If not because of the strong performance I put at initial, that would have discouraged me. And one of the takeaways I got after the interview, I asked myself, but I had so many opportunities to be able to learn an extra language, which is supposed to be a soft skills for me. I had so many times when I was on holidays, I had so many times when I was out of job, maybe after my NYC, I was looking for a job. That would have been an opportunity. 3 months, 4 months, I dedicate. Right now, with the use of technologies, I don't even need to go to any French school to learn French. There are softwares, or there are applications like Duolingo, and there are so many applications like, I can't remember some of them, whereby I can be able to develop my proficiency in French language. And that would have discouraged. And that is one of my messages I have for prospective job seekers, that focus on adding skill set on what you have. Do not rely on what you learned in school. BSc, MSc, PhD is good, but at the end of the day, these are not the kind of things that will stand you out in the job market. Like you said in your introductory part of this program, it is a competitive job market now. So many people have what you have, even better than what you have. So many people have a better way to even market what you have. So what stands you out is your ability to be able to differentiate yourself through the kind of skill set that you have. If you are a computer scientist, nothing stops you from updating your knowledge of computer every day, because every day new technologies keep coming, new softwares keep emerging, so many things are being invented. You have to update yourself so that when you speak to any prospective employer, you will be able to convince the person that you are the right fit for that opportunity.
So there's this question that the recruiters always tend to ask, tell us about you, and people start saying, oh, I am this, I am that. What is the basic or the right way to answer that question?
I tell my candidates or tell my students or my colleagues sometimes that is an opportunity. In fact, that is the best question for me during interviews, because it is at that interview, I'm telling you this, that it is at that point that the recruiters make up their mind if they want to hire you or not. Because at that stage, they assess so many things. They assess your ability to articulate your thoughts very well. They assess your ability to be able to, they assess your self-confidence. How confident are you in speaking your mind? And they also assess your ability to prioritize your thinking. Okay, this is more important. Okay, this is how this, I need to say this first, I need to say this second, and what have you. I have seen candidates that mesmerize their employers through that question. Tell me about yourself. They start by saying their names, they go to their qualifications, they go to their experiences, and they focus on the job, on the role that they are applying for, and they try to link the relevant skills they have with that role, and they end it by emphasizing on their skill set. So like I said, it is the most important question for me, and it is a question where you have an opportunity to make a statement to your employers, and it is at that stage that most of these employers decide that I will hire Fatima, or at that point, and for some of them will even be on their phones because they feel that this is not the right candidate for them.
Because the interview is not interesting for some of them. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Victor Kwambuge, for taking out your time to be on this conversation with us, and I hope that a lot of people watching would actually learn one or two things from this.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much.